What if the biggest threat to your success is not your circumstances, not your background, not your education, and not your bank account, but something invisible, something living quietly inside your own mind right now, something you have probably never even been warned about? Psychologists call them cognitive distortions. Philosophers call them character flaws, but I want to call them exactly what they are: attitude diseases. And just like a physical disease, if you do not catch them early, if you do not treat them aggressively, they will spread. They will consume everything good you are trying to build. They will burn your potential to the ground while you are standing there wondering what went wrong. Here is the thing that makes this terrifying. Most people who have these diseases do not even know they are infected. They think they are just being realistic. They think they are just being careful. They think they are just being themselves. But what they are really doing is guaranteeing their own failure, one small unconscious choice at a time. In this video, we are going to go through 7 of the most dangerous attitude diseases that quietly destroy people's futures every single day. We are going to look at what they are, what they actually do to your brain and your life, how to recognize them in yourself, and most importantly, how to cure them. Because every single one of these is curable. Not easy to cure, but absolutely curable. Let us start. Attitude disease number 1, indifference. This is the disease of the shrug. The person infected with indifference drifts through life with a passive attitude toward everything. Nothing excites them. Nothing motivates them. They respond to opportunity the same way they respond to everything else, with a mild, lifeless. The psychologist Abraham Maslow spent decades studying human motivation, and he found something fascinating. The people who reported the highest levels of fulfillment and achievement were not the people with the most talent. They were the people who brought full engagement to everything they did, even the small things, even the boring things, even the hard things. He called this peak experience, and it was always connected to total presence and effort. The danger of indifference is this: you cannot drift upward. You can only drift down. Gravity works on ambition the same way it works on water. Without active force pushing against it, everything naturally moves toward the lowest point. The cure is deceptively simple but brutally difficult to practice. Decide right now to pour everything you have into whatever you are currently doing, not when you get a better job, not when the conditions are right. Now, wherever you are, whatever the task is, here is why this works. Total effort in any direction will quickly do one of 2 things. It will either open up real opportunity, or it will reveal to you clearly that you need to be doing something else entirely. Either outcome is progress. Either outcome moves you forward, but indifference gives you nothing. It gives you days that blur into weeks, weeks that blur into years, and years that blur into a life you never chose. Stop drifting, start engaging. Everything changes when you do. Attitude disease number 2, indecision. Psychologists have a name for chronic indecision. They call it analysis paralysis. And research from Columbia University by psychologist Sheena Iyengar, famous for her groundbreaking JAM study, showed something that most people find deeply counterintuitive. More options and more thinking do not lead to better decisions. They lead to no decisions. They lead to paralysis. The person suffering from indecision is stuck on the fence. They can see both sides of every argument. They are aware of every possible risk. They have made a habit of weighing, considering, analyzing, and ultimately never committing. They tell themselves they are just being thorough. What they are actually doing is letting time make the decision for them, which is the worst decision of all. Here is the truth about decisions that most people are never taught. Wrong decisions are not the enemy. Indecision is the enemy. A wrong decision at least moves you. It gives you information. It gives you experience. It gives you the feedback your brain needs to course correct. Research in behavioral psychology consistently shows that people learn far more from acting and failing than from waiting and overthinking. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, developed what he calls the regret minimization framework. He asked himself a simple question before every major decision. When I am 80 years old and looking back at my life, will I regret not doing this? He applied it, made his decision, and moved. That clarity of commitment is what separates people who build things from people who simply talk about building things. Pick a direction, any direction. Go with everything you have got. If it turns out to be wrong, you will find out faster and you will course correct faster. A life of adventure and achievement is built on hundreds of imperfect decisions made with courage, not on a handful of perfect decisions made after years of hesitation. Shake off indecision. Get off the fence. Any side is better than no side. Attitude disease number 3, doubt. Self-doubt is arguably the most quietly devastating force in human psychology. And unlike the others on this list, self-doubt wears the disguise of wisdom. It disguises itself as humility. It tells you things like, I am just being realistic, and I do not want to get ahead of myself. And who am I to think I can do something like that? Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck spent 30 years researching the psychology of belief and self-perception. Her landmark work on what she calls the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset showed something remarkable. People who believe their abilities are fixed tend to avoid challenges, give up quickly, and plateau early. People who believe their abilities can grow through effort tend to embrace challenges, persist through difficulty, and achieve at dramatically higher levels. The only real difference between these two groups is what they believe about themselves. Self-doubt is a fixed mindset in disguise. It is the quiet internal voice that decides you cannot before you have even tried. The antidote is not arrogance. It is not blind overconfidence. The antidote is simply choosing to believe in yourself the same way you would choose to believe in a good friend. You would not tell your best friend that they are probably going to fail. You would not remind them of every reason they might not make it. You would encourage them. You would see their potential clearly. Start doing that for yourself. The understanding of self-worth is not vanity. It is the foundation of every meaningful thing you will ever build. Without it, you are constructing your future on sand. Begin there. Begin with belief. Attitude disease number 4, worry. This one is so common that most people do not even recognize it as a disease. They think worry is simply being responsible. But there is a critical difference between productive problem solving and destructive worry, and most people are doing the second one and calling it the first. Research from Penn State University found that approximately 85% of the things people worry about never actually happen. And of the 15% that did happen, 79% of the time people discovered they could handle the situation better than they had feared. That means roughly 97% of all worrying is either about things that never occur or about things that turn out to be manageable. Worry does not prevent bad outcomes. It does not solve problems. What it does is flood your body with cortisol, the primary stress hormone, suppress your immune system, elevate blood pressure, disrupt sleep, and systematically destroy your capacity for clear, creative, forward-thinking thought. Worry is not preparation for life. It is theft of life. Neuroscientist and anxiety researcher Dr. Joseph Ledoux at New York University spent decades mapping the brain's fear response and showed that chronic worry literally rewires the neural pathways in the amygdala, making the brain more prone to threat detection and less capable of rational optimism over time. In other words, the more you worry, the better your brain gets at worrying. It becomes a self-reinforcing loop. Breaking that loop takes intentional, disciplined effort. It is not easy, but it is absolutely worth it. The goal is not a life without challenge. The goal is a life without the crushing psychological weight of worry dragging every challenge into a catastrophe before it has even arrived. Give it up. Who needs it? You can meet every real problem in your life with far more clarity, creativity, and courage when you are not carrying the imaginary problems too. Attitude disease number 5, overcaution. There is a fine line between wisdom and fear. Overcaution lives on the wrong side of that line. The overcautious person has elevated risk avoidance into a lifestyle. They see risk everywhere. They ask, what if this goes wrong, before they ask anything else. They can always find a reason not to try. They are so focused on protecting what they have that they never build anything new. Here is the insight that changes everything on this topic. Life is inherently and completely risky. There is no safe option. There is no version of existence where you avoid all risk. Being born was risky. Going to school was risky. Falling in love is risky. Having children is risky. Trusting people is risky. Everything that matters involves risk. Economist and best-selling author Nassim Nicholas Taleb made a powerful argument in his book, Antifragile, that the greatest risk in many situations is actually the decision not to act. He calls this the fragility of excessive caution. By avoiding what feels risky, overcautious people often expose themselves to the far greater risk of stagnation, regret, and a life that never became what it could have been. If you think trying is risky, wait until you experience the weight of never having tried. If you think investing your time and energy into something uncertain is frightening, wait until you total up the compound interest of years spent on the sidelines. The bill for not trying is always higher than the cost of trying and failing. Do not ask for safety and security above everything else. Ask for adventure. Ask for the chance to discover what you are actually made of. A shorter life fully engaged will always be richer than a longer life lived hiding in the corner. Attitude disease number 6, pessimism. Pessimism feels intelligent. That is its greatest deception. The pessimist thinks they are simply seeing the world clearly while everyone else is fooled by naive optimism. But the science tells a very different story. Dr. Martin Seligman, the founder of positive psychology and a former president of the American Psychological Association, spent decades researching the difference between optimists and pessimists in terms of real-world outcomes. His findings were striking. Optimists live longer, earn more, have stronger immune systems, recover faster from illness, build more successful businesses, maintain better relationships, and demonstrate higher performance in nearly every measurable domain of life. This is not wishful thinking. This is data. The pessimist looks through the window and instead of seeing the sunset, sees the smudges on the glass. They do not try to figure out what is right. They try to figure out what is wrong. And when they find something wrong, they feel vindicated. They feel they have been right all along. This is the psychology of a person who has confused fault-finding with wisdom. The philosopher and psychologist William James, one of the founding fathers of American psychology, wrote that the greatest revolution of his generation was the discovery that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. That sentence was written over 100 years ago, and it has only been confirmed more deeply by every decade of research that followed. Our lives are not primarily shaped by what happens to us. They are shaped by how we interpret, how we frame, and how we think about what happens to us. Pessimism is a filter that makes everything darker, heavier, and smaller than it needs to be. Optimism is not blindness. It is a deliberate, evidence-based choice to focus on possibility alongside reality. Train yourself to look for what is working. Train yourself to look for solutions. Train yourself to ask not, why won't this work, but how could this work? The mental habit you build through daily practice becomes the lens through which you experience your entire life. Build a lens worth looking through. Attitude disease number 7, complaining. We have arrived at the last disease on this list, and in many ways, this is the most socially acceptable one, which makes it the most dangerous of all. Complaining is everywhere. It is so normalized in our culture that people who do not complain are often considered unusual. But here is what the science actually says about habitual complaining. Research from Stanford University showed that complaining for 30 minutes or more per day physically damages the brain. The hippocampus, the region responsible for problem solving and cognitive flexibility, begins to shrink under the repeated neurological stress of a complaining mindset. Dr. Travis Bradberry, who co-authored the best-selling book Emotional Intelligence 2, explains that every time you complain, you are literally reinforcing the neural pathway that makes complaining your default response to difficulty. In other words, the more you complain, the more you need to complain. It is not just a bad habit. It is a neurological loop that progressively narrows your capacity to respond to life with creativity, resourcefulness, and power. Complaining is the loudest possible signal that you are spending your energy pointing at problems rather than building solutions. Every 5 minutes you spend complaining is 5 minutes of mental and emotional energy that could have gone toward actually changing your situation. And while you are using that energy to narrate your dissatisfaction, the people who are quietly solving problems are moving further ahead. There is a concept in Stoic philosophy that Marcus Aurelius practiced and wrote about extensively in his Meditations. He called it focusing only on what is within your control and releasing completely what is not. Complaining is the opposite of that. Complaining is spending your precious limited energy on things that have already happened, things you cannot change, things that exist outside your control. It is the ultimate waste. Cut it out. Not because life is always fair. It is not. Not because nothing is ever genuinely difficult. Things are genuinely difficult, but because you cannot build a great future with your hands while you are busy pointing fingers with them. So there they are. 7 attitude diseases: indifference, indecision, doubt, worry, overcaution, pessimism, and complaining. 7 quiet destroyers that most people carry with them their entire lives without ever realizing the damage they are doing. Here is what ties all 7 of them together. They are all failures of thought. They are all patterns of thinking that have been allowed to run unchecked, to become habits, to become personality traits, to become the invisible architecture of a limited life. The philosopher Epictetus said it over 2,000 years ago, and modern neuroscience has confirmed it in laboratories across the world. It is not what happens to you that determines your life. It is what you think about what happens to you. Every single day you have a choice. You can allow random thoughts, fear-based media, negative conversations, and old unconscious habits to pour freely into your mental factory, and then wonder why the output of your life feels disappointing. Or you can stand guard at the door of your mind. You can decide deliberately, with discipline and with intention, what gets in. You can choose your inputs. You can choose your thoughts. And by choosing those, you choose your future. That choice is available to you right now, not tomorrow. Not when conditions improve. Right now, the war is real. It happens inside the mind before it happens anywhere else. And the outcome of that internal war determines everything that follows. Make sure you are winning it.